Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives, and welcome to the March 7th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. We are here, folks. Definitely, you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com and catch me on Substack. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Today, live, local, and progressive, Professor William Muck will be here filling in for Joan, and his guests include Illinois Congressman Sean Casten, Georgetown law professor David Super, and Phil Barker, professor of political science at Keene State College. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here, of course, normally Joan, but today Professor William Muck will be with us. Tonight from 5 to 7 p.m., Patty Vasquez will be joined by Reed McCullum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County, and Anita Penduer and John Harris to talk about Are You Really Winning? Illinois Helpline 1-800-GAMBLER, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 Central, WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Monday on this show, my guest will be Illinois State Representative Abdel Nasser Rashid, Paige Tobin, check this out, Education Program Assistant Manager at Urban Growers Collective, and Rich Logis and Stephanie Messina, Leaving MAGA, will be with us on Monday. Check out our new podcast, Choose Views, featured interviews, where you can find all of our recent conversations with folks like Marcia Levick from the Juvenile Law Center, Jamila Tramiel of Ladies of Virtue, Dr. Conway, who was with us, I Am Able Foundation, immigration attorney Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, Democratic strategist Mike Nellis, and many more. You'll also be able to plug in my interview today, which will be added later this morning with Mayor Johnson. The Choose Views featured interviews, that's where you can go. Full episodes as well. And how do you do that? Search for Choose Views or get the links on my show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on my picture. Click on my ear. Maybe try that. I said click on my forehead last time, but you know. Listening live, you can always listen live, of course, here on TuneIn, heartlandsignal.com, and watch the live video stream from WCPT's Facebook or the YouTube pages. And when we talk about Heartland Signal, man, if you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Heartland Signal. That's just one word, Heartland Signal. And be sure to check heartlandsignal.com for daily updates. Make your way over there, guys. I'm telling you, there's so much good stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got a great clip for you at the bottom of this hour. But, Henry, let's get to Choose Views News real quickly, because we've got a busy morning. By the way, just to give you guys the quick rundown, Karen Byrne will be with us in the 6:30 hour from True Blue Politics Podcast. Crystal Paul from the Illinois Awareness Project at 7. And, of course, our own Mayor Brandon Johnson will be with us in the 7:30 hour. Pessimism grows among executives. Less than half of 47% of U.S. executives feel confident about the country's economic direction in the year ahead. That share is as a marked decline from December, when 67% of business leaders polled by the Association of International Certified Public Accountants reported feeling optimistic about the economic outlook for 2025. Tariffs and an ensuing trade war are likely culprits behind the downturn in sentiment. Bloomberg reports, with 59% of respondents saying they would expect levies to negatively affect their business. However, I wonder how many business persons, quote, that like to call themselves the business people, voted for this craziness. Layoffs surge on DOGE cuts. Layoffs rose 245% in February compared to the month prior. According to data released Thursday by the outplacement firm Challenger Christmas & Gray, of the roughly 172,000 people who were let go last month, more than one-third or 62,000, lost their jobs to cuts by the Department of Government Efficiency, led by billionaire Elon Musk. That's a sad state, y'all. We let a guy that we funded, our country. I'm not going to point to any particular party because both Democratic and Republican administrations threw several contracts his way. But we funded that. Canadian stores dropped Jack Daniels. I saw the video of this. Jack Daniels is feeling, did you see it too, Henry? Jack Daniels is feeling the impact of newly implemented tariffs on Canadian goods, but not just from the levies directly. Parent company Brown-Forman is taking a big hit as Canadian businesses seek to retaliate against the U.S. CEO Lawson Whiting said that he noticed that many stores in Canada have pulled American liquor off their shelves entirely in a move he describes as, quote, disproportionate and worse than a tariff because it's literally taking your sales away. That's not the point. The point is to let the administration know we aren't having it. We'll figure out other ways. That's what the point is, dude. Car dealers resist online EV sales. They're feeling the heat of automakers work to simplify the process by buying electric vehicles online. Well, Volkswagen and Honda are both planning to sell new EVs directly to consumers next year, according to Bloomberg, with one VW executive saying he wants purchasing Scout brand cars to be as easy as buying a T-shirt on Amazon. Walmart seeks price cuts from China. Walmart is hoping its Chinese suppliers will cover the cost of U.S. tariffs, according to Bloomberg. Citing anonymous sources, the retail giant has asked manufacturers in the country for more, quote, major price reductions of up to 10%. So far, few vendors have accepted as fewer concessions would result in a loss, meaning the cost of tariffs could be passed on to me and Henry and y'all, American consumers. Big box retailers, including Target and Best Buy, have already indicated shoppers should expect prices to climb. Does anybody remember when Vice President Harris said that, and Governor Walz said that Christmas this year in 2025, if Donald Trump were elected, could be a problem because the cost of the things that we spend money on as it relates to Christmas and holiday gifts would be highly tainted by these tariffs. And this is March, what's today, the 7th? And they're already saying it, Henry. These fools thought they knew more. We didn't try. We told them. We didn't try to tell them. We told them. So here we are. I mean, my 6 stories, 5 of them are all around these price increases and what businesses. And see, here's the thing. Many of the people who voted for this carnage, of that 78 million that voted for the Orange Menace, think that they know more than business leaders. And this is not a moment where I'm dragging anybody because of their knowledge, but their arrogance. Their arrogance said, I know more. I'm going to follow what this dude says who knows less because I don't really care. The tariffs aren't going to affect me. Meanwhile, business leaders, even business leaders who have leaned right politically, knew and stated that this was going to happen. And we're not even 60 days into this administration. And there's already companies that are looking for ways of cover. So there you go. I'm going to keep it as upbeat today. It's Friday. That's my thing. I want you guys to feel good about things. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do this weekend, what you can do if you're looking for things to do here in Chicago, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Henry, they've been doing it for a while. 65 years strong. Alvin Ailey is returning to Chicago, bringing its incredible show-stopping performances at the Auditorium Theater, 50 East Ida B. Wells Drive, also known as Congress. Where's Ida B. Wells? It's Congress. So it's going to be at the Auditorium Theater, so check that out. The Spring Flowers Show at Garfield Park is still happening. I think it ends this weekend, so make your way over there if you can. That's always fun, something new to kind of test a different part of your brain. Designing flowers, take a look at that. The Looking Glass Theater, company is presenting Circus Quixote, and that's going to be taking place this weekend, 163 East Pearson Street. That's over there by by Water Tower, in case you didn't know. Good things to do. Great actors, as we all know. Maggie Daly Ice Skating Ribbon. That is, once again, the downtown area of the city of Chicago is just putting on good performances, good things to get out and do. And that's been happening since November, but this is the last weekend, so make your way over there. And that's going to be, of course, downtown at the by the ice rink. Fool for Love. Ha! What's that all about? In a sweltering motel room in the Mojave Desert, May and Eddie lick their wounds and get ready for another relentless round. How about that? Where's it going to be? Steppenwolf. That's running through March 16th, but this weekend you can check it out. Get yourself out and enjoy that. Steppenwolf Theater. A Tale of Today, Materialities at the Dry House Museum. Materialities is an expansive contemporary exhibition that invites viewers to discover history and the architectural process. And Chicago is a great architectural city. That's going to be running through April 25th, but I thought I'd let you guys know about it this particular weekend, something to do. And that's at 40 East Erie Street. And last but not least, make your way down to the Court Theater in Hyde Park by the University of Chicago for A Raisin in the Sun. This is a classic New York Drama Critics award-winning, Tony Award-winning Best Play. It's a classic, A Raisin in the Sun, and that's going to be this weekend at the Court Theater in Hyde Park. So, guys, lots of stuff to do, lots of things to get out and hang out and enjoy here in the city of Chicago. Let's take a quick break, Henry. When we come back, we've got some more things that keep you going and keep you excited in this weekend here in Chicago. 773-763-9278. Choose Views. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. If you're out and about and traveling and commuting this morning, be safe as always. It's Friday. We want to have all the fun we can on the weekend, wherever you are in the country. And that's why we drop a few of those things to do here in Chicago, if you are here in Chicago. At the 7:30 hour, of course, our good friend Karen Byrne will be here with us. Not in studio today. She's going to be calling in on a Friday to chat a little bit of everything. But we're going to talk about we'll talk a little bit about Musk. We'll talk a little bit about Bernie Sanders. And, of course, we'll talk a little bit about that awful display of an address on Tuesday night. So there you go. We have a couple of clips that I'd like you guys to be able to appreciate, and we'll talk about them. And it's, once again, this I talked yesterday about, because we had 3 great women on as guests. Women are getting stuff done, and I'm happy to be one of the strongest supporters that you'll find of the ladies that are leading in this country. And as you guys know, there were a number of mayors that went to Washington on Wednesday to testify in front of Congress, congressional hearing. And as you guys know, as usual, our Representative Jasmine Crockett had a few things to say about, what's happening in our country and how we have to stop lying to ourselves about who's a felon, who's not a felon, and how those felons are running around in our country. Let's put it that way. I don't want to spoil the clip, but Henry and I have one that we put together that we thought you guys might like to hear from Boston Mayor Wu.
I'm the mayor of Boston. I don't get to decide who comes into our country and where they go after that. Our job is to keep people fed and healthy and safe when they arrive in our city. And we do that in order to make sure that everyone across our community is safe. Resources are strained, but I would ask you to please do your job and be part of passing bipartisan legislation that would allow us to do what
we passed HR 2, but what's been made very clear is that we don't need to pass laws. All we need is a new president. My time has expired.
So one of the things that I found very compelling about that is we don't need to. Talk about Republican arrogance. Talk about Republican arrogance. We don't need to pass laws. That's what you're sent to Congress for. We just need a new president. So does that mean that you just, well, you have a new president, but we need a new president now. I mean, I'm going to take it and strip that out. Yeah, we need a new president now, but we need Congress to recognize, particularly Republicans, that it is their job to pass laws. How dare he say we don't need to pass laws? That's your job. If you don't think you need to pass laws, then leave. It's time to be primaried. It's time to have a Democratic leader come into your district and have a town hall and let the people know there that you aren't doing your doggone job. Like the people chanted, I forgot which one it was now, Henry, but a town hall last week, and the dude just up and left. And he was like, I don't remember if it was a senator or if it was a House of Representatives member. But the dude just got up and, well, I've got a busy schedule. I got a few things to do, a few more stops. And then this punk just gets up and walks out. And the folks, and I believe that I have the right one in mind, started cheering, do your job, do your job, do your job. So if the House of Representatives, Republican House of Representatives, don't think that they should be passing laws, then leave. What are you there for? We don't need you. Your district didn't. If your district voted for you to go in there and not pass laws, then guess what? And I know a lot of people got issues right now with this next statement I'm about to make, and that is we can't be calling them stupid or dumb or making statements about them and telling them, see, this is the whole, now people are defending Henry, calling folks out for their bad behavior by using words like stupid and being idiots and what's the other one that a lot of folks are saying? We can't use mess around and find out. Well, why not? I've been hearing so many people in the progressive conversation just driving me nutty over this one. You told me and Henry that we were wrong, we were crazy, we were out of our minds for voting. How could you vote for that woman? What is wrong with you? Donald Trump's going to save the... Y'all told us that we were the bad ones. And by the way, guys, 773-763-9278. We'll try to get you in today with our bevy of guests, but give us a call. We were told this, and now that you have gotten what you voted for, you don't want us to call you out, and so no, you get called out. And if it wasn't stupidity, it was certainly willfully being ignorant. It was certainly being aggressively stubborn. So I'm sorry that your toes are getting stepped on now. However, I'm going to call it as respectfully as I see it. If I think that what you did, your vote was you threw your vote away out of your arrogance, I'm going to call you on that because I should. If I'm and you have to and listen. On Monday we're going to be talking with Rich Logis about leaving MAGA. And we're going to have this conversation as it relates to, a lot of people don't want to be referred to as we've left MAGA, so don't beat us up. I understand extending the hand to people to come on our team, but you got to sit in the back of the bus right now. I shouldn't use that analogy because that brings up Rosa Parks and all. You got to sit quietly in the corner of the room. So, Henry, let's jump to this really quick clip of Representative Crockett, and then I want to pivot over real quickly before we go to the break to our Heartland Signal piece that we have. But let's let folks have a little bit of fun with what Representative Crockett had to say.
Let me ask each of the mayors, just yes or no. Have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
34 felony convictions.
No, Congresswoman.
From the immigrants. Anybody?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious because we are so concerned about crime, and I know that my Republican colleagues would never want anybody with 34 felony convictions roaming around because that could be a danger to the community, but I will move on.
You get the point? I mean, stop telling us we can't call out the bad behavior. I mean, I was just sent a great text that said, it's like what Al Green said, Representative Green. No one reprimanded Trump for calling Democrats lunatics on Tuesday. So get out of our faces about calling you out for the dumb vote that you made. So if we don't want to call you dumb or stupid, let's put it on the action, Henry. How about that? To soften up these are and I know Karen's going to have something to say about this. These are the not featherweights, snowflakes. These are the snowflakes. So to help these snowflakes out a little bit, we'll start calling your actions stupid. We'll start calling your vote stupid. We'll start calling your willful ignorance stupid. So let's talk about the action so that the snowflakes don't get all bent out of shape. Well, you can't say that about us now, you know, or it's not right to say that. And I've heard people in the progressive conversation doing the same thing. Like, well, we're not going to be able to draw them to us. Forget them. Not literally. I almost said something bad. No. You told me and Henry and Devin and Lady B and many others, I'm just using the names of my, team here, that we were the stupid ones, that we were the ones that didn't get it, that we were the ones that had our heads up, somebody's proverbial backside, and we were the ones that were the shills for, and all the other things that you threw at us. And now that this week of carnage and craziness and tariffs that are impacting your pocketbook, I mean, how much pain should you have to endure? This is what's so insane about Musk saying, well, there's going to be a little bit of pain. And Trump even saying there's going to be a little bit of pain. And MAGA's going to. How much pain should you endure? First of all, why should you endure pain? To what end? To help me understand, help me see the end. I'm an end thinker and working backwards person. What's my outcome? And then I'm going to blaze a trail backwards to make it happen. So help me understand what the outcome is when we were already in a strong economy, the strongest in my lifetime. Help me understand why I would make a decision, Henry. We're running along fine. Road is nice and smooth. It's not perfect. We're going to have some speed bumps along the way. Help me understand, MAGA, and people that are leaving MAGA and all the people that are the snowflakes on the right. Help me understand why Henry and I are just hanging cool. We're running down the road just fine. Why would we, when we pull over to a stop to get some gas and some snacks, get back in the car and go, hey, man, there was a sign back down the road that said we should go that way. How much better will that road be when I know this one's moving pretty well? And it has been. And Henry and I are looking at each other like, well, it looks kind of tempting. Maybe we should turn around and go back down that road. When we could see, and Henry goes, Richard, but you remember when we were driving by, you said, it looks kind of cloudy over there. But somebody said, once you get through the clouds, it's going to be all right. But there's sunshine this way and milk and honey. Not perfect, but it looks pretty good. That's what America did. And now that we're on that path, the people who said, oh, man, you should go this way, that we ended up going that way, they're telling us that we shouldn't get on their backside because we tried to tell them that path doesn't look too good, that we should go through the pain with them. That's kind of insane, y'all. It just is. So there's my analogy. And we got a felon, 34-time convicted felon, walking around, causing harm to people. Name me 10 immigrants from Mexico or from Haiti or from any other brown country that is daily causing you to have a gut check like, where are we right now? Are we going to be okay? Give me 10. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break, Henry. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Welcome back to Chew's Views, Progressive. Glad to be with you this morning. I had to get that out because of the fact that so many people that have been out there have been bent out of shape about, man, we can't talk about, it's not right. And they're the snowflakes. And the ones that are on the left that are saying that, Henry, I'm like, what, have you lost your mind? We want to, our bucket of voters starting today and going forward is not drawing MAGA over to us. If they come, they come. The people we have to get in the game are the 69 million folks that didn't vote. That's where the win is. It is not trying to make MAGA folks happy. It is about getting those folks to come across to to get up off the couch and get in the game. So stop trying to be nice to MAGA because you're worried, well, they're not going to come join us. And I've heard, voices on the progressive political spectrum saying that kind of stuff. I'm like, nah. They already beat us up. Why are we going to take another beating from them? And this one is we have to be nice to them for them to come join our party. No, they're going to come over to our party. We don't want you to come. Henry and I having a nice little cookout. You ain't invited. Here's the thing, Henry. We invited you. We invited them. And they showed up and acted a damn fool. Why are we going to invite them again? Let's invite some other people. It's that simple to me. So stop kissing the behinds and tell them, no, man, you can't come over. And here's why. So Dems, buck up in that conversation. All right. She's been on hold for a couple minutes. Welcome to the show. Good morning. This is Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast, a.k.a. Karen from Chicago.
What is left to say? I mean, really? No, I don't know if they missed the big party last summer at the DNC, but there was 5 days, whatever it was, week-long party going on in Chicago talking about freedom, talking about $25,000 for first-time home buyers, talking about $50,000 for small business startups, talking about happiness and joy and love and inclusion, being a good neighbor. So I don't know. I don't know what to say to people. It sure as the hell was not the cost of eggs, okay? Let's just get rid of that whole notion. It was a bunch of people. I'll give them the best I can say is that they had their heads up their behinds, and they didn't know what the heck and they were buying every line of BS that they were getting on social media and through right-wing talk radio. That's about all I can say about that. So, yeah,
some of the people that we know and love in the progressive conversation are trying to create space to welcome people that already burned us, already sliced us.
Right.
I'm not down with that. Right. I'm just not.
No.
We have to be, and that's a mistake. I believe that progressives, liberal Democrats make is, okay, let's love up on them. No, you already stabbed me. I am not letting you stab me again. And I'm not going to be nice to you until you decide, hey, Richard, hey, Karen, hey, Henry, I stabbed you. I'm sorry. It was wrong. And here's what I'm going to do to fix that. Until I hear those words, until we, not I, let me get off of the I train, until we hear those words.
Right.
We don't owe them.
And I think in a way it's kind of for them to acknowledge that maybe their best judgment isn't all that good, and that when they are figuring this out and they do start speaking to the people who have had it right this entire time and saw the dangers of what we're going through right now, that maybe what you want to do is, instead of trying to come in and lecture and lead, why don't you follow our lead for a little bit? Because we're the ones that have been right, not y'all.
Yeah.
So,
Karen, listen, this is where, right now, and I know you've got something to say about this, so I'm going to tee it up for you. Why do Democratic elected officials feel like they need to stab their own partners? And where I'm going with this, you already know, is how in the hell did 10 Democrats decide they were going to vote for the censure of Representative Al Green. And to that end, Karen, I'm proud that nobody in Illinois, none of our Illinois people talk trash about Illinois, talk trash about Cook County, our suburbs, and this, of course, the city of Chicago. Our folks stayed together. But talk to us about that for a second in terms of these 10.
Okay, so here, just a quick rundown. Amy Barra from California 6, Ed Case from Hawaii 1, Jim Costa from California 21, Laura Gillen, New York 4, Jim Hines, Connecticut 4, Chrissy Houlihan from Pennsylvania 6, Marcy Kaptur, Ohio 9, Jared Moskowitz, Florida 23, Marie Glusenkamp, Perez, Washington 3, and Tom Swayze, New York 3. So those are the 10 that, for some unknown reason to me, went ahead and joined in with the Republicans to censure Al Green, who stood up when lies were being spewed and in protest of what is happening with cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And he's standing up there, and he is one of the most bold and fearless representatives I think I've ever seen. He is always first in line to issue articles of impeachment. The man is understanding what we are all feeling and what we are all wanting. And by the way, apparently Hakeem Jeffries and a couple of other in the leadership roles called in some of the Democratic representatives and senators that walked out and called them in to scold them and tell them that, aside from folding your laps and not folding your hands in your laps and not clapping and wearing, coordinating clothing, that anything above that should not be done, goes against decorum. Okay, I don't know what rocks are these people under? Yeah. They don't understand their base is freaking the F out here. Okay, and I do agree with going and filling those spaces where there are Republican representatives and senators that are not holding town halls. I do understand that strategy of Democrats moving into those spaces and talking to some of those Republican voting constituents because they are gettable. If they're, Well, so I do think that is a great strategy, but also read the damn room, Hakeem Jeffries. I had so much hope. I am so disappointed in him, honestly.
And I'm disappointed. And here's what I'm even in a bigger way disappointed. And we listen. I'm the advocate of pushing forward our ideas, our agenda, and we know that we're better. We're not playing like we're better. And that's the part that's probably so frustrating. Not probably. It is so frustrating for so many progressive liberal Democrats throughout the country. We know that we're better. We're just not playing up to our potential. And here's the thing. It's not that difficult because the Republicans suck. Excuse me, y'all, but they stink up the room. So let me clean that up a little bit. But it's Friday, y'all, so I'm going to bring some positivity. I'm going to bring some fire. It's Friday. That's what we do. But listen, to Karen's point, I love the fact that Hakeem Jeffries is the minority leader, but I don't love the way that he, from what we're seeing, is showing that he's willing to knock over some tables. Now, should everybody have gotten up and left on Tuesday night? And we always do armchair quarterback and after analysis, and I get all that. And people go, yeah, but should they have all gotten up and left? No. Should they not have shown up at all? No. I think showing up, because this is the word that I'm not seeing right now that's frustrating me, and I know it's frustrating y'all, and that is a united front. And right now, that's what's frustrating, I think, at its core, a lot of progressive liberal Democrats and people who sat on the side, that lack of united front. It's not, and that's not.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not. That's okay. That's okay. It's not just about the word leadership. It's united front. But to have that, it does take a certain amount of leadership and a little bit of heavy-handedness at this level. And so to that end, they need to take a page out of, I would say, Governor Pritzker's book. Right now, the state of Illinois and even Mayor Johnson and our other leaders, they are pretty much lined up. And let's be honest, for that to happen, it's because they have a united front. And we have got to get our national elected officials on that page. And, Hakeem Jeffries talking about some of the things that he's talked about. It's just not weird. Same thing with Schumer. So I'm going to say this, and this is a little bit of me being a Chicago guy. I thought y'all from New York were supposed to be the badasses.
Yeah.
We got two guys from, quote, Brooklyn, New York. I think Schumer's from Brooklyn, so I don't want to get that wrong. But he's from one of the five boroughs. Where's this so-called? This just proves once again that whatever is dope comes through Chicago, like Mayor Johnson said at the hearing the other day. It comes through Chicago. Even our boy Gavin Newsom on the West Coast is now showing like, what the hell?
Oh,
and I'm like,
so
it's unification.
Before we move into that, because I do want to move into that, because that is very personal
Sure
to me.
It is.
But can I just say, so this is the thing. I'm just going to use this analogy. I'm a parent, okay? I parented my children with a man who we coordinated with one another. We may not have agreed with every single thing, but we were able to sit down and come up with a game plan and coordinate, and we presented a united front to our children. So they knew that they couldn't play one against the other. Right?
Yep.
That is what is required here, is they need to sit down, get behind closed doors, sit down, and come up with a game plan.
And stop working this stuff out in public.
Thank you. That's what you do.
That's what my mother and father. Listen, the one thing that I know about my mother and father, they had their battles. They could chop it up, y'all. But when it came to taking care of business, my mother and father were a united front. And I learned one of my more valuable lessons from that. I knew that they had issues behind closed doors. I wasn't stupid. I knew that they did. But when it came to getting stuff done, when it came to taking care of the household, when it came to taking care of me or making sure I was on the right track and my siblings and my cousin and family members, my mother and father were a united front. And my father told me something years ago that stayed with me to this day about marriage, but it was really more broadly about partnership and team. He said, you work out your issues in private. He said, never let anybody see any weakness between you and who you love in public. He said, never let it happen.
Great.
He said, you're better off shutting your mouth in public than to expose a weakness to somebody that can take advantage of you. And to this day, if you and Henry and I were talking about this before the show, I was like, Henry and I may have a beef today. Tomorrow he texts me and says, Richard, I got something I need your help with, blah, 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 blah. I'm there for Henry. We may have had beef today, but I'm not going to publicly let him suffer. And the Dems need to stop doing that garbage right now. I'm tired of that. Working out their problems in public, work them out in private, come out as a united front, and doggone it, where's the press conference with every member of Congress on the that's a Democrat in the House and the Senate? Where's that press conference? Line them up on the Capitol steps.
Every day they've got to be talking about this. They have got to offer opposition messaging. And they have got to, what Donald Trump, and by the way, point of order, who has a beef with Henry? I mean,
we're playing.
Come on, Richard.
I'm just right. Who has a beef? I know.
I was just teasing. Okay, so, but here, this is the thing. For 4 years, Donald Trump was still in the news. And why was he still in the news? Because he knows how to get attention. He knows how to get attention. He was essentially running a shadow government. Okay?
Yep.
Right or wrong, he was running a shadow government, which was messaging the entire time. That's what Democrats need to do. They need to get together and they need to get a central message. And I'm going to offer this as a suggestion. Elon Musk, okay, unelected South African immigrant who did not go through any Senate confirmation that I'm aware of to be in our stuff, has government contracts, is making billions already off of taxpayers before he even stepped foot, is now, per Donald Trump, the head of a department that was not established by Congress.
Yeah. The message can be really simple. The message should come out like this, a version of this. Elon Musk is a threat to American society, and we're going to stop him.
Yes.
How many people that didn't vote or that did vote would go, thank God somebody finally said it. Just stop playing around with what are you doing? No, man. Elon Musk is a threat to American society, if not the world, and we as Democrats are going to stop him. What that will elicit is basically the Trump administration will then try to find ways to crease that statement. And they'll be on their heels because the Democrats collectively come after Elon Musk. We're not going, and make it clear, we're not going after anybody else. We're going after Elon Musk. And here's why we're doing it. And because he's coming after your stuff, and we're going to stop him from doing that. I know if I were minority leader, both either the Senate or the House, I'd be saying that every day. We're coming after Elon Musk. He's an unelected bully that's taking your stuff. And I'm sure, and I would say this to the American people, and I'm sure you all are behind me on that, right? Call my office. Here's my number. Call our office. But and so my frustration that you all are hearing anywhere in the country right now is because when I saw that 10 Democrats decided to censure Al Green for getting up and saying what needed to be said about Medicare. Listen, I wasn't down with, let me rephrase that. Staying there, showing up, I thought was important. I've said this. I'm on record as saying they could not let that void be there of empty seats, because in this environment that would have been used differently by the Republicans. They all needed to be there, in my opinion. Don't leave a void. It gets filled by something you don't want. But when it's over, show a sense of unity and a sense of strength. And they haven't done that. And I am not going to lie. As much as I'm behind our group and our team, I'm disappointed that they sort of filtered away a little bit. And 10 said, yeah, we needed to censure him. Are you out of your damn minds?
Right.
So.
And the number is 202-224-3121. And we need to be calling them and telling them that we are not happy with what they did. And because here's the thing that they need to understand, because they're all in their kind of beltway bubble. The mainstream media is in their beltway bubble. Okay, we have seen coverage on Rachel Maddow. She's done a great job with these town halls, covering these town halls. They're covering the protests, we are out in the streets. A lot of us are out in the streets. A lot of us are taking time out of our days to pick up the phone and make phone calls to either our elected Republican representatives or our Democratic representatives. And so we are fighting for them. We all door knocked. We all phone banked. We text banked. We wrote postcards. Okay, we reached out, stuck our necks out to talk to our friends and family about getting out and the importance of voting and why it was important to vote for Democrats, okay? And I still believe in the Democratic Party, and I still believe in our leadership. But they have got to understand that we are all feeling extremely helpless and in a lot of cases hopeless. And when we see them not fighting the way we need them to fight and understanding the moment that we're in, that we all feel that we are in, that is extremely It's troubling, and it suppresses the vote.
Yeah,
and it potentially can suppress the vote. We need them to excite us and to get us activated and get more people activated to understanding what the task at hand is.
Stop trying to get people who stabbed you in the back to not stab you again. Find people who will not stab you, and those are the 69 million that didn't vote.
Exactly. And people like Charlie Kirk, Gavin Newsom, really? Gavin Newsom is having Charlie Kirk on his first episode of his podcast, and the common ground, to find common ground, and the common ground that they're able to find is that Gavin Newsom doesn't believe in trans women in sports either. So basically, signing on to the right-wing narrative that is a Trojan horse about trans women in sports, which accounts for 5 situations where that happened. Only one of those trans women even came close to placing, and placed, it came in 5th, I think. Yeah. The problem is this. There's a lot of people, and even within the LGBTQIA community, that marginalize trans people. Okay, yep. Martina Navratilova is one of those people.
She's one of those people.
And I have said this, I think, on your show, and I'm going to say it again. For anybody out there listening, okay, as the mother of a trans child, okay, I understand a few things. I'm not an expert. I don't know everything about it. But I do know that there was a chromosomal study that was put out by Russia that has been debunked, and which Martina Navratilova and others have cited as a reason to not allow trans women in sports. The reality of the situation is when somebody transitions over and they get gender-affirming care, as is the case when a man has low T, right? They get their gender-affirming care to bring their testosterone levels in balance, in proper balance within the spectrum of male hormones, okay? So you have a spectrum of male hormones, you have a spectrum of female hormones, okay? There are various, everybody's going to be a little bit different, and I would argue that had Martina Navratilova and Chrissy Everett-Lloyd been tested back in the day, Martina Navratilova would have had more testosterone. Okay, yeah. So these trans women have the hormonal balances of biological, quote unquote, females.
And listen, we can't play scientist here. The medical part of this is critically important, and it's constantly being studied and reviewed. The political part of this that I've got to lean back into with like I said, a unified message is the fact that if Gavin Newsom, he could go on with Roland Martin. Why in the hell Charlie Kirk? I mean,
right?
So that was a huge swing and a miss. And
oh my gosh! But then to come out against trans people, I'm sorry. That is absolutely that is like a stab in the gut for me. And it is a no, Gavin. F-U.
It's a step. It's a
sorry.
Stab. No, I get it.
Sorry.
It's a stab.
I'm sorry. That is really upsetting to me.
It's a stab in the gut.
That is a problem.
It's a stab in the gut, and it's also. It's just a terrible misread. It's a terrible misread, and we got to unfortunately leave it there because we're coming to the top of the hour. Dems, here's the message. When you pick a place to go on, to be on a show, when you pick a message that's going to be out there for people to follow, you have got to have unified messaging. Not even just messaging, a unified effort to let people know where you are. We have enough to fight up against the Republicans that we don't need to be fighting 10 Democrats and a governor that are going to pick a position that's going to be called into question and is awful. So, Karen, we have...
And there's no common... Yeah, and let me just say there's no common ground to be found with Nazis and Klan members, okay?
Not at all. And
no,
we have
sorry.
we have no reason to rationalize or justify any kind of a position like that. So we've got to get to this. We've got to get to the top of the hour break. So I'm gonna pull you back from the edge. But thank you for being with us this morning.
And thank you for having me. And I'm sorry, that is just something that is extremely visceral for me. So
I get it.
I appreciate you giving me the space to just vent there.
Got it.
So have a great weekend and stay in the fight. Yeah.
You know
enjoy.
It. All right, Karen. Thanks for being with us.
Okay. All right. Be well.
Be well. Guys, the passion is important. And, that's the part where we all have to go, what does this mean to us? And Karen is passionate about this and right on to her for it because it's personal. Sometimes we have to take this stuff personally. Sometimes we have to address it that way. And that's what we try to do here on our show is give folks the space to talk about those things. And we applaud her for her willingness and her courage to say it like she feels it. But in the bigger picture, guys, sorry, Dan, but stop begging MAGA to come to let us be their friend. We don't need that. No, we don't need it at all. Do we have time to go to our quick Heartland piece? Henry, do we have enough? What's our time? It's a little tight? All right, then we won't do that. We'll wait and we'll save it. We'll save it maybe for our latter part of 7:30, our 7 o'clock segment. But we're going to take a break in a bit. But when we come back, and I'm announcing it right now, we've got Crystal Paul is going to be with us with Investigate the State. It's part of the Illinois Awareness Project. I think it'll be a good measure to have her with us this morning to talk about some of these very important items here in Illinois. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9. Oh, my goodness. Guys, my brain just went like 773-763-9278. Send Karen some love, y'all. It's personal to many of us when something like that happens, particularly from people who we have entrusted a certain amount of leadership in. And I'm proud to say our governor, our mayor here in Chicago, our state officials are doing their work. Illinois is holding it together. I'm not shy to say that. So over at our great platform, heartlandsignal.com, I had a clip I wanted to play for you guys, and for some reason I just technologically messed it up. But what I will tell you guys is that you want to make your way over there because our Heartland Signal on X, we have some great videos there and audio there, platforms that you want to be able to share and send on to the folks that you care about. Everything from Speaker Johnson's debacle and Trump saying that was whining about Democrats not clapping for him, to some of the other Republican, what I'll call knuckleheads, and their willingness to sacrifice and give up our country to this carnage rather than stepping up, right? Whether it be Representative Derek Van Orden from Wisconsin or Mark Alford down in Missouri or Jamie Gregg in Missouri as well. These are folks that are they're willing to bend over. And, at the end of the day, as much as I talk about what I want Democrats to do in terms of leadership and having a unified message and staying on point, the Republicans are the ones that are creating the carnage. The Democrats are not. This week, let me keep this clean. The Democrats this week dropped the ball, and they need to pick the ball up and get strong again. So I know we probably will come back to it, but you guys would be disappointed if I didn't say that. As much as I look at things from an optimistic standpoint and where we can go and what we can do, they fumbled this week. So, all right. One of our guests, or our guest that we have coming up right now, is someone that's got some skills when it comes to learning, telling us about what's happening in our state and telling us what's happening within our government. She's part of the Illinois Answers Project, and that will be none other than Crystal Paul. Good morning, Crystal. Welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Sounds like that commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Crystal, welcome to Choose Views. You are part of Illinois Answers Project, and we've had one of your colleagues on the past. But take a moment, if you can, and share a little bit about what the organization is all about and a little bit more about what you do specifically and more broadly with Illinois Answers Project.
Sure. So Illinois Answers Project is an investigations-focused newsroom. I'm going to give you the tagline here. We rigorously investigate responses to societal problems through evidence, limitations, and insights. But to be less formulaic, what's unique about our newsroom is that we don't have breaking news or daily news requirements, which frees us up to embark on deeply reported investigations. So what that means is that we have what a lot of local newsrooms are short on. We have time. So we have the time to request thousands of public records from government agencies. We've got time to appeal when those requests are denied. And if need be, pursue litigation or alternative routes to getting those records. It's a beautiful luxury that, again, many daily papers or even weekly papers can't really afford when they're doing that kind of vital work of covering the daily business of government and their communities and breaking news. And that's the idea that my team, the state investigations team, was born out of. So I can dive into that if you'd like, and start embarrassing my reporters if you'd like. Or
well, listen, I mean, you won't embarrass them. I think they'll probably be happy that you kind of put the magnifying glass on them. Let me ask you this question, though, to what you just said in terms of having more time. That is our show. I mean, you and I've got 15 minutes today to talk about a lot of things, and that's why we'll have you back. But that is a big part of this. And tell me why having time has allowed you, or tell our listeners why having time has allowed you to do a quote-unquote, in your mind, better job.
Oh, well, so I'm not necessarily certain that we're doing a better job. There are amazing investigative resources throughout the state happening at places like CNI and at, smaller local papers like the Bellevue News Democrat. But what we are able to do, like you're right, that we have time, and local news has seen a huge decline in the last 10 years and even more, where there just are fewer outlets. So there's a bigger burden and a lot more pressure on local papers to do more, to cover outside of their normal coverage areas. And we don't have necessarily a coverage area. Our coverage area is the state, is Illinois. Having time to dedicate to, say, an investigation about restraint chairs. That my reporter, Grace Hauk, who is our Northern Illinois reporter, she's tackled that over the last 10 months. And that took, thousands and thousands of public records requests that she's filing at local governments statewide. She's filing at county jails and, meeting some resistance on occasion. And then we're able to follow up and say, okay, well, she filed a public records request, for example, at a county jail, and they say, well, that's unduly burdensome. It's a very common response that you'll get, which is just saying, that's going to take us too much time to do. Which is sometimes fair, right? If you're requesting, a decade's worth of records, that's going to produce, thousands and thousands of records. It's going to take someone a very long time to produce. What we have is the time to say, okay, well, we can break that down into smaller chunks, and we can wait. If we're right, and if we're denied, if someone says no, you can't do that, but we know that that's against the Freedom of Information Act and the state laws, we can say, well, actually, yes, you have to actually give this to us. And we're going to appeal, and we're going to go to the public access counselor and ask them to, tell you that indeed you do have to give these to us. And, if that doesn't quite work, then we also have the option of litigation or alternative routes with working specifically with the FOIA officers. So time is not a small thing, is what I'm saying here. Yeah. Can you imagine doing all of that while also reporting as you do, on a daily beat?
So you said something that brings me. See, your colleagues are like, "Oh my God, she's just throwing us under the bus." But no, So Crystal, help me articulate this and put this out to all of our listeners. One of the things that you said that I think is important is that your focus is Illinois, and not that it's only Illinois by virtue of we live in a contiguous United States, but have you, in your investigation, of something that's Illinois, quote, has that led to something that's a larger issue that might be regional or national in your investigation?
Absolutely. So, some of our tips will start in Chicago or something, or in a small county in southern Illinois. And then we'll start poking around statewide and find, hey, this is actually a statewide issue. And then, so a great example is actually that restraint chairs investigation, which Grace has been reporting very well. What happened was, once we started reporting about restraint chair use, we found that more and more people had been restrained in these chairs, strapped down in these chairs in county jails all over the state, in every county, and that some counties, they were being strapped down for days and days, that the issue was not just that people were being strapped down for hours beyond the manufacturer's recommended amount of time, but way beyond that. In some counties, they were being shocked. So we found almost immediately that it was a statewide issue. And then beyond that, someone outside of Illinois read our reporting and was like, oh, well, this seems to be an issue in my state as well. And they began investigating in their state. And beyond that, I think he's touching on Kansas and Indiana. So, it's a bigger issue. And right now, Grace is even looking at some of the responses to restraint chair use and abuse in, I believe, Pennsylvania, California. These things touch people's lives everywhere, and it's very rare that you're going to just find something that is only applicable to one singular place, right?
Yeah, well, and I thought that would be the case, but I wanted to ask the question and not make the assumption that it were. What's been your biggest find in the last year that you had a total OMG moment? Beyond the restraint chair issue. But if you were to go, that was the one that made my 2024, what would that have been? What has that been?
I wish I could tell you the one, but we are currently reporting it, and that would be bad. That would be bad to tell you, as we're currently in the investigation. Well, there's a big story coming out in the next week or so that I'm hoping we can point to.
That means, Crystal, that at some point, once that story's out, we may have to talk about having you back to talk about it, particularly if it's an item here in the state of Illinois. So let me ask you this question, then, to not put you completely on the spot about what that is, because I know you gotta work through the methods on that. You were one of the speakers on Wednesday at Investigate the State at Bradley University. Tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. So our state investigations team is only about 2 years old, and we've only been at full capacity for about the last 8 or 9 months. That means that we have a reporter for Northern, Central, and Southern Illinois, and me on board as well. So we are finally at full capacity. We are finally operating, with all of our resources. So part of the Investigate the State series is to just introduce people to our team and open us up for tips. But the other part of that is that we want people to understand what it is that we are doing and what we use as our methods to do some of these investigations. That includes arming people with knowledge about how to access public records in their communities. So we are hosting several events throughout the state to sort of give people a primer on FOIA law, Freedom of Information Act law, and how they can go about strategizing to request public records from their government entities, and maybe some strategies for how to get around the requirements that it only applies to public bodies, for example, seeing how you can access records at private universities or things like that. So, our idea is to give people tools and not just say, hey, give us information.
Got it. So in giving tools, that actually is a question I was going to ask you. Are there, I'm just going to sound silly in saying this, are there younger journalists, younger folks that want to take on a role and be a part of a team like you have that you're talking to? I mean, it's one thing to have you said you finally got your people together, so to speak. Are there younger folks that are looking in this direction and want to be a part of what Illinois Answers Project is providing? I
am encouraged to say yes. Where our talk at Bradley University on Wednesday was very encouraging. We had a great number of students, journalism students, and people outside of journalism come through. My favorite was actually a girl who came up to me afterwards and said, I'm actually not very interested in journalism, but my little sister is, and she's in high school, and she recently, they made some big change at my school, and they told her that they can't tell her how it happened, why they made this decision or anything. And I just wanted to know, I wanted to come here and get the information and pass it on to her to figure out how she can get answers. And I was just so impressed by that. First, a bigger sister, first of all, being like, I'm not even interested in this. But more impressively, a high school student just saying like, yeah, I'm going to go out and get answers about my school while I'm currently attending my school as like a junior or something. So I'm very encouraged by the prospect that we are going to have more and more investigative reporters coming out of J school and apparently high school.
That's cool. We've had wonderful guests on this week, and many of them have been women that are leading groups and organizations that at the end of the day, it's all about representation of women for women. And certainly in one capacity, a couple capacities, I should say, where it was just making sure that younger folks and younger men as well have a place to direct their energy in terms of what they want to see as change and how they want to affect change for their future. So it's been encouraging to have that mindset be a part of the show this week. And you just spoke to that. But talk about funding. I mean, everything, no matter what, takes energy, takes commitment, takes money. How do you guys make sure you stay afloat?
Yeah, we rely pretty heavily on grants. So we are published by the BGA, the Better Government Association, and we have several grants that fund the newsroom's work as a whole. And it's always a battle, honestly. Like, this is important work, and we hope that people will continue to fund us. We've been graciously funded by the Treehouse Foundation, my team specifically, and it's important to us that we're not just getting those funds, but that we're getting funds from groups that understand that there has to be a hands-off approach, right? It's a newsroom, so we are not being paid to cover specific stories, and we will never do that. We have a very sturdy firewall in place now, and that's important, right? Because that's the kind of stuff that we would investigate if we thought that there was some sort of wrongdoing, like, if we thought that someone was getting or making ill use of grant funds. So it's important for us to get the right kind of funding, and that, narrows down the possibilities as well. So, give us money, please, to let us do this work.
So, Crystal, last couple of questions. Your work is primarily focused or here in Illinois, and that's as you said earlier, that's your initial target. And then I asked the question about, do you have situations where an investigation leads to something broader outside of the state, the region, and all? So where I'm going with this, to be specific, is currently the administration, and I know that your goal is, and your organization is not taking a partisan position on things, but by virtue of where we are, you have to look at certain things a certain way. The administration has made it clear from an immigration standpoint that they're going to come into certain communities. Chicago is one of the cities, and Illinois is one of the states. How are you guys preparing yourself for what could be things that happen in the state that are part of a federal program that could be mishandled?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Our focus is Illinois, but you're also right that Illinois is not some island, and is, in fact, sometimes the direct target of federal issues. So we are very aware. We're staying on top of the news. We know what's going on. We know that our strength lies in focusing in on our own state and our own communities and how they might be affected by federal issues and federal policies. We are also a solutions-focused newsroom, or as I like to say, response-focused, which means that we are often looking outside of our state anyway for comparisons to other things that other communities are doing in response to some of these issues. As relates to current federal policies, what I can say is that it is sometimes a better approach to, if you're looking for public records or something like that, to focus in on smaller communities as a sort of microcosm of what's happening on a grander scale, because you're more likely to get responses. So if you were filing federal FOIAs right now, good luck. I know many of you out there are, so thank you for doing the good work. But, there have been massive layoffs of federal employees, and that's going to include FOIA officers, which means that it's going to be harder than ever to access public records on a federal level. That doesn't mean that we're not doing that anyway, because it's the law, and we should be. But, there's no, like I said, there's no way to not be investigating in Illinois and to be investigating in Illinois and not be paying attention to what's happening on a national level.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So listen, as we wrap up, how are folks going to find you and be able to, lend a hand or be involved in whatever capacity they might be able to?
Yeah, so if you are looking to reach out to the state investigations team specifically, we have a tip line. It is statewide investigations at illinoisanswers.org. And we also have a website, illinoisanswers.org, with our statewide page there with all of our reporters' contact information. You can reach out to specific reporters on their beats or more broadly to the newsroom. We are always looking for tips and always hunting them down. So come through.
Got it. Well, listen, thanks for being with us this morning. Crystal, we appreciate your energy. We appreciate your focus, and keep on fighting the good fight.
Thanks so much, and nice to be in the hot seat right before the mayor.
There you go. All right, Crystal, thanks for being with us. Have a great day and a good weekend, okay?
You too. Thank you.
All right, bye now. How about that? What I thought was really, really interesting about a couple things that she said in terms of investigating. They've got some things going on now that they can't really quite talk about, which I completely understand. And the other thing that she said, that if you're trying to get information on a federal level right now, good luck. And I'm sure she's running into some roadblocks, specifically with the work that they're doing to try to uncover some of the things that are happening with budgeting and layoffs. So kudos to Crystal and her team at Illinois Answers Project for the work that they're doing. How are we doing, Henry? We're doing all right? Okay. All right, cool. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a little bit of an early break so that we can be uber ready, because we have Mayor Johnson that will be with us in the 7:30 hour. Guys, the number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So Mayor Johnson's going to be with us in a moment, and I wanted to play a clip from something that I thought was right on with Mayor Johnson and the congressional hearings on Wednesday. Henry, let's hit him with the opening.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. Thank you to the ranking member Connolly and to members of this committee. I have the great privilege and honor of serving as mayor of the city of Chicago, the third largest city in the nation. Established by a Black Haitian man and a Potawatomi woman, Chicago is and always has been a proud city of immigrants. Generations of new arrivals, including the descendants of the enslaved during the Great Migration, created a vibrant city where 1 in 5 residents is foreign-born. Each day I wake up to serve every one of Chicago's 77 unique neighborhoods and those who live in our great city. As mayor of Chicago, nothing is more important to me than the safety and well-being of all residents. And since I was elected, my administration has been laser focused on creating and implementing public safety initiatives that protect all Chicagoans. We launched the People's Plan for Community Safety, which builds trust between communities and law enforcement by prioritizing transparency and violence intervention. We established a dedicated robbery task force that reduced robberies by 25% citywide. We added over 200 detectives, increasing the clearance rates on our cases. And we've updated police equipment and technology so that our police officers have the tools they need to effectively prevent and fight crime. Our efforts to improve public safety by building trust with and investing in our communities are working. Violent crime is down in Chicago. The city ended 2024 with its lowest homicide rate in 5 years. The city is also safer because of our Welcoming City Ordinance. That law makes sure that the city's police resources are focused on our local priorities. In fact, the 40 years of Chicago's leaders have recognized that our policies toward civil immigration matters help to prevent and solve crimes. Put simply, any actions that amplify fears of deportations make Chicago more dangerous. Those fears cause witnesses and victims to avoid cooperating with police. The cooperation of all people, regardless of their immigration status, is essential to achieving the city's goals of reducing crime and pursuing justice for victims. When there is trust between city's residents and the police, undocumented immigrants come forward to report crimes to local law enforcement and provide information that helps the police solve those crimes. And now, I know there are myths about these laws, but we must not let mischaracterizations and fear-mongering obscure the reality that Chicago's crime rates are trending down. We still have a long way to go, but sensationalizing tragedy in the name of political expediency is not governing, it's grandstanding. Every violent crime is devastating, but scapegoating entire communities is not only misleading, it is unjust, and it is beneath us. So let me be clear. Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance and our other laws and policies do not lead to more crime. They do not prevent cooperation with federal law enforcement on criminal matters. And we do not harbor criminals. We arrest them, often because of laws that allow residents to feel safe helping the police. As mayor, I'm building a Chicago that embodies the dream of my father had when he came from Salis, Mississippi during the second migration, a Chicago that invests in housing, healthcare, jobs, and education. And that's why we've increased safe and stable housing by adding almost 4,000 more units, expanded access to health care by opening 3 mental health centers, and focused on getting our young people well-paying jobs, with summer jobs increasing by 45% since I've taken office. Our local partnerships have built a solid foundation, a better, stronger, and a much safer Chicago. We need this body's support for these efforts. We are ready to partner with you on the measures we know promote trust and create sustainable public safety. And to the people of Chicago and all hardworking people across this great nation, these values are our North Star, the drinking gourd we follow to a better future. We will not live in fear. It is not our portion. We will not go back. I do look forward to answering the questions of this committee. Thank you.
Sorry about that, guys. I had my foot on the court. I thought the mayor's opening statement was brilliant, well written, well presented to the body, and a siren, sort of a, look, guys, we've had our troubles. We've had our challenges, without a doubt. But we're here to fight. We're not going to bend a knee. We're not going to yield. We're not going to Mar-a-Lago. And I give Mayor Johnson major credit and kudos, as I do, because I want him to succeed. I want him to succeed as a mayor, and I want his leadership to continue to grow and get better. Anybody that's a citizen that would only want that. So I thought that he did a phenomenal job in that opening and answering other questions, as did Mayor Wu. Two folks that were not willing to take any guff from the Republicans that were there, that wanted to try to do what Mayor Johnson said in his opening, which is, pin the tail on the donkey, that, saying that you mayors of the blue cities are wrong and you're criminal and we're going to come and get you. So while we're waiting for Mayor Johnson to come on, I wanted you guys to hear that clip. Some of you may have actually watched the hearing, but if you didn't, I wanted you to be able to hear that from us. We will get that to you if you need it, so that you have the ability to listen to it, no matter where you are in the country. That's what I believe mayors and state officials and county officials and governors have to do, that are leading our blue communities, our country. That's a statement. Mayor Johnson's opening is a statement that would resonate in any city in America, in Houston or in Des Moines, Iowa, because it's about making sure that the people of the city that are being represented are taken care of and they're being properly represented. So I'm hoping you guys can appreciate why I felt it was necessary to go forward with that. Do we have the mayor with us this morning? All right. Well, let's make that little pivot. Good morning, Mayor Johnson. Welcome to Chew's Views.
Hey, good morning, Brother Chew. Man, thanks for having me.
Good to be with you. I hope you heard the opening. I know you read it, so you don't need to hear it over and over again, but I wanted to play that for our listeners here and all over the country to let them know, in my observation, that of Richard Chews, that's how you get it done. That's how you let people know that you're here for the fight. So I applaud you in that way, and I really feel like you nailed it. When I saw that, I didn't watch the entire hearing, but when I saw that part, I thought Mayor Johnson was ready. So kudos to you for being ready and going in and speaking. You and Mayor Wu, boy, I tell you, I just have to say it. You guys were ready to take it on. So talk about that for our listeners and folks all over the country that would like to hear from you what that experience was like.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, the Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, is just an incredible leader. Has her roots right here in the Chicagoland area. I've worked with Mayor Johnston and Mayor Adams, for that matter, as we responded to what essentially was an attack against our sensibilities. When the governor of Texas decided to target blue cities with sending buses around America, it was essentially an attack against our sensibilities. And, what the goal was to get us to surrender our humanity. And we didn't do that. The governor of Texas spent roughly $221 million, roughly. It's about 1% of the overall budget of the state of Texas. Instead of coordinating and working with us, the Republican Party refused to work with the Biden-Harris administration around comprehensive immigration reform. And so our values are pretty straightforward. The story of Chicago is the story of America, established by a Black Haitian immigrant and a Potawatomi woman, and set up a trade post at the bank of what would become the Chicago River, understanding that Chicago will be the global capital of the world one day. And we truly are. Immigrants from around the globe have come to the city of Chicago to make up our vibrant city. Italians, Irish, Polish, Mexican, Jewish, of course, descendants of slaves came up during the Great Migration. My father was a part of the Second Migration and, wanted a better life, fleeing from oppression and Jim Crow laws of the South, much like we have people around the globe who, are fleeing their nations because of either environmental issues or U.S. sanctions to some extent, foreign policy that has caused disruption in those respective states. So Chicago has always been, a place where, again, immigrants and descendants of slaves have seen as a place of refuge. And that's the story of Chicago, of working people from around the world that make us the greatest freaking city in the world.
That's right. And listen, I've said this to you before. I'll say it again. Imperfection allows us to have a goal to shoot for, to get better. And that's one of the things that you and Mayor Wu are unyielding about. And I love what she said about, and I'm paraphrasing, but you were there. Stop coming after us about some of these things over here that are distractions, when you guys need to pass some laws and some legislation and protect the things that are part of our fabric. Let's protect Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and other systems that allow our country to stay strong. Stop this garbage. We aren't perfect. Help us with this. Let's move forward. And that's a message that I think a lot of people just aren't getting. That's what Republicans are trying to do right now.
Well, she's absolutely right. And, we've been very clear, Mayor Wu and I, and I've expressed this in multiple settings, that the current administration and their approach towards governance is not legit. Right. It's the opposite. They're grandstanding. In fact, we've challenged this administration. Instead of defunding the Department of Public Education, they should be increasing our funding to ensure that our special education students have all the resources that they need. Our bilingual students have the support that they need. Of course, our educators having the supports that they need. Public education is something that is very dear to my heart, having benefited from public education, having taught in our public schools in Chicago, sending my children to the public schools there in Chicago. You know, the fact that this administration is clear about defunding HUD, you know, the amount of homes that we have built in Chicago just in the first 20 months and the 10,000 or so that are on line to be built over the next couple of years. It's just the ones that we put online last year, about 9,600 of them that are being moved, towards openness. His attack against the environment. We reestablished the Department of the Environment here in Chicago. I could go on and on between the environmental justice, the Department of Justice, education system, between HUD. HUD was the place where we worked hard with our federal delegation to secure $426 million for families who experienced the flooding back in 2023. So all of these efforts that we have put forth in the city of Chicago to create safer communities, this administration, the Trump administration, is working hard to undermine those efforts.
And to that point, Mayor Johnson, and thank you for that, rather than the Trump administration looking at the government buying crypto and creating a crypto account, how about spending that money where it should be spent, which is protecting the people who need those services and that largesse the most: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, education, and some of our other pillars that have allowed this country to take care of the least among us so that they can move into the middle class and on and on and on. So I appreciate you kind of breaking that down. Let me move to another quick topic, because I know that limited time with your busy schedule. You were able to narrowly get past the borrowing bond. Big number, and I know that you took some heat leading up to that, but you were able to get it across the finish line and bring together the votes that were needed. That's a box that you can check. But I think a lot of people want to know, as best that you can in this limited amount of time, Mayor Johnson, talk about what it will benefit, who it will benefit, and ultimately what people want to know is how much is it really going to cost the city?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So yes, we passed an investment a couple of weeks ago, roughly a little bit over $800 million to respond to the infrastructure needs that we have in Chicago. Again, because of the threat from the federal government of defunding the valuable, resources that we need here in Chicago to continue to move in the right direction, we cannot rely upon the federal government. And our infrastructure needs are severe. I was participating in a live town hall about a month ago, and a woman, came to the microphone and she said, Mayor Johnson, you either fix these potholes in these streets or you're going to fix my car.
I remember that.
Right. And, and she wasn't by herself, right? I mean, there are, bridges and viaducts that are crumbling. Our lighting is not sufficient. And again, our streets need to be paved. And so these investments are really about not just ensuring that the people of Chicago have, all of the necessary amenities to be safe, but it's also about making sure that we create jobs as well. So the $800 million of investment into our communities creates jobs, which the return on those investments are significant. Look, I'm just going to be very direct with you and your audience. Look, the city of Chicago has floated bonds for decades. This is actually very standard for a corporation of our size. $16 billion budget, over a $16 billion budget. We attract trillions of dollars from around the globe. There have been so many bonds like this have been floated over the years. The reason why I get so much attention around these investments there's a concerted effort to undermine the investments that I'm making because there are individuals that are more concerned about trying to embarrass me than actually work with me. It's going to be flat out. Look, I mean, in terms of the cost of these investments, every generation benefits from these investments, and paying down on these investments is just a matter of the function of government, quite frankly. And just like there are infrastructural benefits that we have right now that a generation ago invested in, that we're paying for it because we're utilizing it. Right? This is not some major, massive deficit spending. This is not selling away a public asset for good over to privatizers, and we're never going to benefit from it. Do you understand what I mean? I know you're laughing. You and I get it. It's just so asinine.
I'm laughing for a couple of reasons. Our board engineer, Henry, is just laughing his tail off because he understands this is a 20-something dude. He understands that his life right now is growing and getting better because of investments that previous leadership that have their head screwed on straight did so that we would have a better way. So he gets the fact that that's a part of what we have to do as an operator. And I like the way you put this, Mayor Johnson. A corporation the size of Chicago, people forget sometimes that it is a business. It's politics, but it's also a business. And mistakes have been made, and you are going to make yours. But it's all about acknowledging that and then saying, how do we clean these up and move forward? And I hear you when you say people just they don't want to work with you and other leaders. They want to continue to throw the proverbial doo-doo at you rather than, hey, Mayor Johnson, we got to figure this out. And sometimes you have to take the stand, and I appreciate you being transparent about how you feel about it. I'm laughing. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing with you.
No, I know you won't. I'll just add one more dynamic to that. The structural deficit that we have right now in the city of Chicago is primarily based on the fact that previous administrations did not pay into our retirement system.
Yep.
That's the issue. In fact, for the last two budgets, not only have I paid into the retirement for city workers, our people, that I've actually added payments on top of it so that we can no longer be in a situation where we're just treading water, right? So the structural damage that has been done to the city is primarily based on the fact that 2-3 administrations ago took the dedicated revenue stream that was securing our retirees and then decided to take that revenue stream and line the pockets of developers and the ultra-rich. Now, we have restored that dedicated stream, and now I'm paying the debt from 3-4 administrations ago, and then now you're going to have individuals who had a chance to do right financially when they were when 30 years ago, and they didn't make the right decision then, and then now somehow I'm supposed to trust their evaluation. I'm going to just say it like this. If individuals prove that they're incapable of making responsible decisions when they had the choice in front of them, why would I trust them now? In fact, the reason why the working people of this city voted for me, because they know I'm going to do right by retirees, the most pro-worker city in America, and, of course, we continue to grow our economy by investing in our infrastructure. That's actually how you build safe communities. There's no coincidence that violent crime is down in Chicago as our investments in our infrastructure, our investment in mental health, our investments in education, our investments in youth and workforce development, our investment in our community colleges, all those investments are going up. Violent crime is going down. I'm responding to the structural damage that I inherited. Now all of a sudden people have questions. Well, you should have asked those questions 30 years ago, and now that we're in charge and setting this city on the right trajectory, work with us to actually build the type of economy that's inclusive versus trying to come up with these false narratives that, quite frankly, the people of Chicago, they're seeing right through it.
People are tired of it, and this is the thing that passed through my mind, Mayor Johnson, when you were making your last points. Get involved and be helpful. Stop being just obstructionist to be an obstructionist because you want political power. And to that end, I'm a strong believer in this. Leaders are going to make mistakes. the leaders that are the better leaders go, that wasn't a good thing to do, or it was the wrong way to go. Let's fix that. Let's course correct and go forward. And if there's something that I will say about the better leaders, and I'll include you in this short time you've been mayor, is that you've found the ability to say, oh, maybe not. Let's try to move over here, or let's try again to get it a little bit better. I'm gonna pivot a little bit because we're wrapping up. And kind of end on an optimistic note. I was going to throw something at you, not throw something at you, but talk about that crazy address that took place on Tuesday night. But we won't talk about that today. We'll end on a positive note. Let's end on an optimistic note. Next 30 days before we have you back on in April, there's some things that are happening. Obviously, time is changing on Sunday. St. Patrick's Day is taking place. Spring is breaking. Baseball. And all those things are happening. What does that mean to you as a leader of the third largest city in America?
Well, first of all, I'm a baseball fan, so I'm always looking forward to the spring. And as the weather changes, this is just, the way the city of Chicago begins to open up again and unthaw. I celebrate my birthday in March, so there's a lot of exciting things that I look forward to in the city, just on a personal note, from baseball to birthdays to celebrations. But something that I really want to celebrate. We implemented efforts to build more affordable homes, and including downtown as a part of that effort. And this month, we're going to break ground with the Campari Group that is a part of the Reimagine LaSalle Street. Remember, there was a lot of conversation around how do we reimagine our downtown areas, the Loop, especially with, businesses moving towards remote and, the way things changed after COVID. Well, we have identified a number of buildings that have been repurposed for housing and including affordable homes. And so we're breaking ground on one of those first projects, and I'm very happy that this group, these developers and investors, are investing their time and resources in Chicago to build more units and to build more affordable housing units. I'm looking forward to that. We're still having more conversations about green social housing, a new approach that hasn't been tried in many different places of how we create sustainable rent so that for the next 30 years, families can afford to live in the city of Chicago without the fear of gentrification. So there are still conversations that we're having around building green social housing. The other thing that I'm looking forward to, and another positive note, we have an initiative that I've put forth called the Missing Middle, where we're working with developers to purchase or buy up large swaths of vacancy in the city of Chicago. Yes. And instead of one plot here, one plot there, we're getting them to get multiple plots. We're giving them, of course, incentives to be able to develop on these plots. And of the 6 developers that are participating in this initial $30 million investment, 5 of these developers are Black, 2, I believe, are women-led entities. So this is just within the next 30 days. And really, I'm grateful that we're in a position where, again, the city of Chicago is moving in the right direction, and we're safer. I just think it's important that your listeners know that just within these first 2.5 months of the new year, violent crime is down by over 20%. And whether it's robberies, shooting victims, homicides, we have a long way to go. And to your point, Drew, I'll be the first to admit that we have not done everything or executed everything perfectly. I'm not perfect, but what I can say is this, is that I'm committed to building a more inclusive economy for every single person in this city, to make sure that working people know that they have a champion, that their brothers on the 5th floor thinking about them every single day. What I want for my family, I want for every single family in this city. And so, again, over the next 30 days, as we look to put forth green social housing, the Campari Group breaking ground, providing affordable homes and units in the downtown area. And then, of course, as we continue to deal with the vacancy in this city, where developers are coming together, working with city property, we're making the investments, incentivizing their cooperation, and putting more units on the line. The last thing that I'll say is, if there is ever one thing that people should be very clear about, I want to repopulate the city of Chicago with working people. We're at about 2.8 million people. Believe it or not, we can get 400,000 more people conservatively in the city of Chicago. I know it doesn't feel like that when we're trying to head to work, but there's room for more people. And the way we drive prices for homes down is by building more units. The average price of a home in New York is $1.1 million. Average price of a home in Los Angeles is about $800,000. Right now in the city of Chicago, average price of a home is about $275,000. And so this is the best place to raise a family. And as a big city, we're still relatively affordable, and I'm working hard to drive the cost of living down in the city of Chicago so more working people can experience the vibrancy and as what I call the soul of Chicago.
Mayor Johnson, I am always thankful to have you on our show, and I'm happy that we have been able to put this together and have you with us on a monthly basis. And I just wish you continued success and appreciate your leadership when you went to Washington on Wednesday, and keep on fighting the fight, because we're going to be fighting it with you. So have a great rest of the day. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk again in 30 days.
All right. Very good. Thank you all.
All right. Be well. Bye now. There you go. Mayor Brandon Johnson, leader of the city of Chicago, one of the folks that made their way to Washington, D.C., Henry, to talk about, no, Republicans, you are not going to dump on us. And that, to me, is what I think the leadership has to do. We have to have a unified message. I wanted to talk with the mayor about that, but we've run out of time. But unified message is where we kind of started the show today. And come on, Dems, unified message, strong unified message. We have to have that. People are begging for it. They're begging for the Democratic Party, the Democratic leadership, to stop this sort of too many cats in the room. No disrespect to cats. I love cats. Too many dogs in the room. Too many whatever. That's okay to have a bunch of voices, but at some point you've got to corral all of that and have that massive energy working together to go forward. The more we do that, the better we're going to be able to succeed as a party. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all your calls today because, as you know, we just get busy with our guests, and I appreciate you for staying with us if you were on hold. I don't want to crash you into to a break or to the end of the show. Give us a call at the beginning of next week. We're going to have great guests, as I mentioned before. But to all you guys who've been with us this week, we appreciate you more than you can imagine. And we want you to stay safe and stay optimistic, and that's what we want to continue to do here. It's weekend time. What will we tell you? As always, take a deep breath, progressives, and make your life count. We will see you next week.